Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with all your heart? Imagine discovering that the person you loved the most had been secretly plotting against you with your greatest rival. Ryan's journey is not just about revenge. It's about realizing that sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight within ourselves. From betrayal to revenge, and ultimately to finding peace, this story will keep you at the edge of your seat. Don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay tuned for the next shocking twist in this unforgettable tale. Remember, closure doesn't always come from the people who hurt us. Sometimes it comes from within. The morning sun had just started to peek through the blinds as I sat at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee. It was an ordinary Monday, like any other, filled with meetings, calls, and the usual responsibilities that came with being the CEO of a fast-growing tech startup. But as I looked across the table at Sophie, my wife of 8 years, something felt off. She was sitting there, scrolling through her phone, not making eye contact. Her silence was unusual, but then again, so was everything else between us lately. For the past 2 years, our marriage had been a routine, a silent agreement where we both coexisted without truly living together. Her once warm presence had turned cold, and I had no idea why. I set my mug down and leaned back in my chair. "Sophie, what's going on with you? You've barely spoken to me in days." She looked up, her eyes distant, as though she hadn't heard me, then sighed. "Ryan, I think we need to talk." I felt a strange knot in my stomach. It was the kind of feeling you get when you know something bad is coming, but you try to ignore it. "Talk about what?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. "I want a divorce," she said, her voice almost robotic. No hesitation, no warmth, just cold, blunt honesty. The air around me seemed to freeze. I didn't say anything for a moment. Divorce? Was she serious? My mind raced through memories of the past few years, trying to pinpoint when things had gone wrong. Sophie and I had been inseparable once. We were the power couple in the city, successful, attractive, admired by our friends. How had we ended up here? I set my coffee cup down and looked her in the eyes. "You're serious?" Her gaze didn't waver. "Yes, I've been thinking about it for a long time. There's someone else, Ryan. I'm in love with him." The words hit me like a punch in the gut. I didn't know what to say. Sophie, the woman I had built a life with, the woman I thought I knew, had found someone else. The sting of betrayal burned, but I swallowed it. I wasn't going to break down in front of her. Not today. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice low. She paused for a moment, clearly considering whether to tell me. "It doesn't matter, Ryan. What matters is that I'm done. This marriage has been over for a long time, and I can't keep pretending anymore." I felt a rush of anger, but I didn't let it show. Instead, I folded my arms across my chest and leaned forward slightly. "So, what now? You just want to walk away? You're just going to throw away everything we've built? What about the company? The house? What about us?" Sophie's expression softened, but only slightly. "I don't want to fight with you, Ryan. I don't. But I can't keep living like this. I've already made arrangements. I'm moving out next week. I just wanted to tell you first." I stared at her, trying to process everything. Sophie moving out, a new life with someone else. The anger began to simmer beneath the surface, but I held it in. I wasn't going to let this destroy me, not yet. I stood up from the table, my chair scraping against the floor. "You know what? I'm not going to beg you to stay. I'm not that guy. If you want a divorce, fine. But I'm going to find out exactly why this happened." You don't get to just walk away without an explanation. Sophie stood as well, her face still unreadable. I don't owe you anything, Ryan. And with that, she turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving me standing there, staring at the empty space between us. I felt the weight of everything crashing down on me. My marriage was falling apart. The woman I loved had betrayed me. But something inside me, deep in my gut, told me that this was only the beginning. I wasn't going to let her destroy everything we'd built so easily. I'd find out the truth. I'd make her regret it. The storm had just begun, and I was going to make sure she knew I wasn't going to lose without a fight. The night after Sophie's confession, I sat alone in my office, the dim glow of my desk lamp casting long shadows across the room. My fingers hovered over my laptop, my mind a mess of confusion and anger. I had no idea what to do next. Sophie wanted a divorce, but she wasn't just leaving me. No, she had found someone else, someone I knew, someone who had always been a part of my business world, Alex. The name echoed in my head as I thought about the man who had once been a trusted partner, a colleague who had helped me push the company to new heights. Alex wasn't just a business partner, he was a friend. Or so I thought. Now I knew the truth. He'd been with Sophie, and not just casually. They'd been having an affair for months, maybe even longer. The anger I felt was intense, but it wasn't just because of the betrayal. It was because of the sheer audacity of it all. Sophie had been sleeping with Alex behind my back, and now she was telling me that she was in love with him. To make matters worse, she didn't seem in any rush to divorce me. No, she wanted time. Time to figure things out with him. Time to see where their relationship could go. But that wasn't the worst part. Sophie had dropped another bombshell. Lix wasn't just some guy she'd met at a bar. No, he was the head of a rival tech company, a company that had been making moves in the industry I had worked so hard to build. Sophie told me that Alex had his sights set on my company, and that he'd been trying to outmaneuver me for months. His plans were clear now. He was trying to steal my empire, and Sophie was right there helping him. My head was spinning. How could I have been so blind? How could I not see that my own wife was conspiring against me, working with my rival to bring me down? The answer came to me quickly. I wasn't going to sit back and let this happen. I wasn't going to let Alex and Sophie destroy everything I had worked for. I was going to fight back, and I was going to make them regret ever crossing me. I pulled out my phone and made the first call to my lawyer. I need you to find out everything you can about Alex's company, I said, my voice low and controlled. I need to know their financials, their plans, and anything that can be used against them. I want to be ready for whatever they throw my way. The lawyer on the other end didn't ask questions. He knew better. I'll get started right away. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair and stared out the window. The city lights blinked below, but I felt like I was in a different world, one filled with betrayal and deceit. But this was my world now, and I would not let anyone take it from me. I wasn't just going to gather information. I was going to make Alex's life a living hell. I would find every weakness, every mistake, and I would expose him for the fraud he was. And Sophie, she wasn't getting away with this either. She thought she could have her cake and eat it too, but I wasn't about to let her live happily ever after with Alex while I suffered. I made a few more calls, one to a private investigator, another to a trusted friend who worked in corporate espionage. I needed all the intel I could get, and I wasn't going to let anyone stand in my way. The game was on, and I was ready to play. No more Mr. Nice Guy. No more playing by the rules. This time, I was going to win, and I was going to make sure they lost everything. I stood up from my desk, feeling the weight of the decision settle over me. The storm that had begun the night before was only getting worse, and I was going to make sure I came out on top. The days following my decision to fight back were filled with a relentless sense of focus. I knew that in order to destroy Alex and Sophie's plans, I would have to be smarter than them, more calculated. I couldn't just go in guns blazing. I had to work from the shadows, using my connections and resources to strike at the heart of their empire without them ever realizing it. I started by reaching out to some old contacts, people who had connections within Alex's company. I approached them casually, under the guise of wanting to rebuild bridges. "Hey, it's been a while," I would say, as if we were just picking up where we left off. "I've been thinking about some ideas, maybe some collaborations. Would love to catch up." None of them suspected anything. They were too eager to chat, too happy to hear from me after all these years. As I gathered intel, it became clear that Alex's company had some financial weaknesses I could exploit. I began subtly spreading rumors, feeding them little pieces of misinformation that I knew would cause friction between Alex and his key investors. It wasn't long before his board started questioning his leadership, asking why they weren't seeing the returns they expected. Meanwhile, Sophie remained clueless. She still thought I was sulking in my corner, licking my wounds. Little did she know, I was playing the game, and I was playing it well. Each move I made was another step closer to ruining her relationship with Alex. Every email I sent, every conversation I had with Alex's employees was carefully calculated to sow doubt and mistrust. I knew Sophie had been spending more time with Alex lately, meeting him at his office, working on plans for their future. I didn't care anymore. She was a pawn in my game now, and I wasn't going to stop until she understood that. She thought I was broken, desperate, but what she didn't know was that I was turning the tables. I was no longer the guy she could walk all over. I had a plan, and it was coming together perfectly. Things got even better when I started creating subtle disruptions at Alex's company. I leaked some confidential data, planted a few false documents in their internal systems, and spread some rumors about their financial instability. The panic was palpable, and it was only a matter of time before the cracks started to show. I kept my distance from Sophie, letting her think I was still reeling from the divorce talk, letting her feel like she had one. But in reality, I was orchestrating everything from behind the scenes. I was the one pulling the strings now, not her, not Alex. I made sure to keep Sophie distracted with her own emotional turmoil, while Alex faced the pressure of a failing business. But then, just when I thought everything was going according to plan, something unexpected happened. It was a Tuesday morning when I got the call. One of Alex's investors, a guy named Paul, had contacted me directly. He wanted to meet. I was hesitant at first. What could he want from me? But then I remembered the rumors I had spread about Alex's financial issues, and I realized that this was a golden opportunity. I agreed to meet him. We sat down in a quiet cafe, and after a few minutes of small talk, Paul got straight to the point. "Ryan, I know what you've been doing. I don't know if you think it's a game, but you've been playing with fire," he said, his eyes cold and serious. I felt the blood drain from my face. How had he figured it out? I thought I was careful. I thought I was operating in the shadows. "I'm not here to warn you, Ryan. I'm here to offer you a deal," Paul continued, leaning in. "You've been trying to sabotage Alex's company, but you're doing it wrong. If you really want to destroy him, you need to get Sophie back. You need to break her completely." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. I hadn't expected this. Paul knew what I was up to, But more than that, he had a way to turn the tables even further. "Help me, and I'll make sure Alex and Sophie both lose everything. I'll make sure you get what you want," Paul said, his voice dripping with malice. I didn't know how to respond. Was this really the next step? Had I underestimated my enemies? Or was this just another twist in a game I had already started to win? I stood up, my mind racing. "I'll think about it," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. As I walked away, I realized that things were far from over. In fact, they were just beginning. And now, I had an entirely new player to deal with, one who might be just as dangerous as Alex. I was sitting in my office late one evening, going through the latest updates on Alex's company, when the realization hit me like a bolt of lightning. Everything I had been doing, spreading rumors, leaking information, sabotaging his business, was starting to catch up with me. I thought I was playing the game smoothly, but I'd overlooked something crucial. My own company was suffering. Alex wasn't the only one making moves. The leaks I had orchestrated, the financial problems I had caused for him, had inadvertently sent ripples through the industry, and those ripples were starting to wash up on my doorstep. Investors were getting nervous, key clients were backing out, and, the worst part, my own team was losing faith. My CFO had started asking too many questions, and the company's stock had taken a hit. I needed to fix this, and fast. But there was something else. Something that had been bothering me for weeks, but I had been too distracted to fully focus on: Emma. Emma had been my rock during this whole ordeal. She was a brilliant lawyer, a woman who had helped me out of tight spots before. She had been a trusted friend, someone I had known since college, and someone I had always admired for her sharp mind and unwavering loyalty. When I asked her to help with the legal side of things, she didn't hesitate. She dove into the case, gathering evidence, keeping me updated on any new developments. But there was something off. Over the past few days, I had noticed that Emma had been spending more time with Alex's lawyer than with me. She was getting too close to the other side, too involved in their strategy. I began to notice subtle changes in her behavior, small things, like the way she avoided eye contact when I mentioned Alex or Sophie. It was like she was hiding something from me. Then, one night, as I was going through some legal documents in my office, I stumbled upon something that made my blood run cold. It was a text message exchange between Emma and Alex's lawyer. It was brief, but the contents were enough to make my heart stop. "I told you I'd handle Ryan. He's getting too close to the truth. He won't suspect a thing. We just need to keep him distracted a little longer." I froze, my hands shaking as I reread the message. It was clear now. Emma wasn't just helping me, she was playing both sides. She was working with Alex and Sophie all along. She had been feeding them information, guiding them, while pretending to be loyal to me. The realization hit me harder than I expected. Emma, my old friend, my confidant, had been playing me like a fool. I couldn't believe it. I had trusted her. She had helped me destroy Alex's reputation, but in doing so, she had been setting me up for the fall. She had made sure I would be distracted, running in circles, while Alex and Sophie quietly positioned themselves to take me down. But now, I was the one who needed to take action. I immediately called Emma. I could feel the anger rising in my chest as I dialed her number. She picked up on the first ring. "Ryan, hey, what's up?" she asked, her voice to calm to nonchalant. "I know what you've been doing, Emma," I said, my voice low but steady. There was a long pause on the other end. "What do you mean?" she replied, but I could hear the hesitation in her voice. She knew what I had found. "Don't play games with me." I saw the messages. I know you've been working with Alex and Sophie this whole time. I trusted you, Emma. You've been feeding them information. You've been part of the plan to take me down." I heard her sigh, and then she spoke again, her tone now cold. "I didn't want it to go this way, Ryan, but you made it easy for me. You were so focused on getting revenge on Alex, you never saw the bigger picture. You never saw how much you were destroying yourself in the process." The betrayal stung more than I expected. Emma had been with me when I built everything, when I was starting out, when I trusted everyone around me. Now, it seemed like I had no one left to trust. "I won't let you destroy me, Emma," I said, my voice hardening. "You've made a mistake, and I'm going to make sure you regret it." I hung up, my mind racing. I had to fix this. I had to save my company. And I had to make Emma and Alex pay for what they had done. Everything I had built was slipping through my fingers, but I wasn't going to let them win. Not without a fight. Everything had built up to this moment. My company was on the brink of collapse, and the people I trusted most had betrayed me. But nothing could have prepared me for the final twist. The revelation that Sophie had known about Alex's plan from the very beginning. It hit me like a freight train. I had spent months thinking she was just an innocent bystander in this entire mess. I'd been so focused on Alex and his manipulation that I failed to see that Sophie had been the mastermind, pulling the strings from the start. She had known exactly what Alex's intentions were. She knew he was trying to take everything I had worked for, and she had been complicit. But now, everything had changed. It was Sophie herself who reached out to me. She called me late one night, her voice sounding strange, almost hesitant. "Ryan," she said, "I need to talk. I need to explain everything." I felt a knot in my stomach. "You've got nothing to explain," I replied coldly. "I know what you've been doing." "No," she interrupted quickly, "you don't. Not everything. Alex, he never had any intention of helping me. He lied to me. He used me. I was so blinded by my anger towards you that I didn't see it. But I see it now, Ryan. I made a mistake." I wanted to hang up. I wanted to tell her it was too late for apologies, but something in her voice made me pause. She sounded genuine. I needed to know more. "Why now?" I asked. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I can't let him win," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I was so focused on revenge, on getting back at you for everything I thought you did wrong, that I didn't realize I was losing myself. Alex was never going to give me control of anything. He just wanted to take everything from you, and I let him." It was hard to believe, but something in her tone made me think that maybe, just maybe, she was being truthful. The woman I had loved, the woman who had stood by me for years, had been pulled into a web of lies and deceit. And now, she was realizing that Alex had been playing both of us. I paused, my mind racing. Was this a chance for redemption? Could I really believe her? "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said quietly. "You've hurt me, Sophie, more than you'll ever understand." "I know," she whispered. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to make things right. I want to help you take Alex down. I want to fix what I've broken." I closed my eyes, trying to steady my breath. I had been so consumed with revenge, with the idea of making Alex and Sophie pay for what they had done to me, that I hadn't stopped to think about the bigger picture. Was this really the way forward? Was it worth it to keep fighting, to keep destroying everything I had worked for, just for the sake of pride? I had a choice to make, and it wasn't just about my company. It was about me, about who I wanted to be moving forward. I had spent so much time focused on revenge that I had forgotten what really mattered, My company, yes, but also my life, my happiness. Was it worth all the pain? Was it worth the broken relationships? I didn't know the answer, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't keep going like this. I had to make a decision, and it wasn't going to be easy. The next morning, I met with Sophie. She was hesitant at first, but she didn't back down. She wanted to help me, to fix things, and as much as I wanted to hate her for what she had done, I saw something in her eyes that told me she was sincere. Maybe, just maybe, we could start over. But I also knew I couldn't just let go of everything so easily. I wasn't ready to forgive her yet, but I was willing to listen. As I sat there, staring at Sophie, I realized that the only way forward wasn't to keep fighting, wasn't to keep playing the game of revenge. It was to rebuild, not just my company, but my life. I couldn't let the past dictate my future. I had to move on. But there was one more thing I had to do. I had to make sure Alex paid for what he had done. I couldn't let him walk away unscathed, and I knew, deep down, that I couldn't do it alone. So, together, Sophie and I started planning. Not just to take down Alex, but to rebuild everything I had lost, piece by piece. The future was uncertain. I didn't know what would happen next, or if I could ever truly forgive Sophie, but I knew one thing. I had the power to choose my own path now, and that was enough. As I walked away from the wreckage of my past, I realized that sometimes the hardest thing to do isn't to seek revenge, it's to let go and start over. And that was exactly what I planned to do. The story of Ryan, Sophie, and Alex is a powerful reminder of the destructive power of betrayal and the consequences of letting anger and revenge control our actions. Ryan's journey teaches us that seeking vengeance, no matter how justified it may seem, only leads to further pain and destruction. In his quest for justice, he lost sight of the things that truly mattered: his own happiness, the company he worked so hard to build, and the relationships that defined him. Ultimately, the real lesson is about forgiveness, not for the sake of others, but for ourselves. Holding on to anger and resentment only keeps us trapped in the past, while letting go allows us to move forward. Ryan's story shows that the hardest part of healing is accepting the pain, confronting the past, and choosing to rebuild rather than destroy. True strength lies not in tearing down those who have wronged us, but in finding the courage to rise above it and start anew. Life is about making choices that shape our future. And sometimes, the most powerful choice is to forgive and move on, even when it feels impossible.